Welcome to the Head Shepherd podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO at Next and Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, a big thanks to our three fantastic sponsors. Allflex, part of MSD, perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia, offers one of New Zealand and Australia's largest livestock product portfolios with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Heininger is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Heininger team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. ProA Livestock Equipment have been delivering industry-leading livestock handling systems to producers across Australia, New Zealand and beyond for the last 25 years to improve on-farm safety, efficiency and profitability. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now, it's time to get on with this week's episode. Welcome back to Head Shepherd. You're with Ferg as usual. Thanks very much for listening along. Today, I have the great pleasure of chatting with Carol Mudford from sHedway. Just want to mention before we get into that episode that we are talking about suicide prevention and mental health today. This may trigger some people. We're talking about practical strategies to deal with mental health, and we're doing that with the aim of bringing awareness and bringing an end to rural suicides out there. It is obviously a topic that most of us might have been connected with through an unfortunate loss ourselves. So just really want to make sure that we mention that that's what we're talking about today on the episode. If you or someone you know are struggling, TX is a great place to start, tx.org or Lifeline or Beyond Blue or a range of different services in your country. We've got all those links in the show notes, and we very much encourage you to reach out to those services or get in touch with sHedway, and they can also signpost you towards those services. So as I mentioned, we have got Carol Mudford from sHedway. It's a great story of going from nursing and then COVID ending up, without stealing all the thunder, COVID ending up having Carol find herself picking up a handpiece and taking up shearing, and then back into nursing with a mental health focus, and then started sHedway. You'll hear that story. She's the winner of the AgriFutures Rural Women's Award, which is a fantastic award that recognises the wonderful women in rural Australia out there doing great things, and was lucky enough to take out the national title for that particular award. If you're heading along to Lamix, there's an opportunity to meet Carol there. Carol and her team at sHedway have been selected as charity partners for LAMX, and so she will be there at LAMX along with lots of other trade stands and lots of other wonderful speakers and lots of other amazing farmers and ag professionals. But that'll be a great opportunity for you to catch up with the sHedway team if you're heading to LAMX in July, like all of us are. So great opportunity to see Carol there. Some really great work that Carol and her team are up to, and I really enjoy this chat with Carol, and I'm sure you will as well. We'll get underway with this week's show. Welcome, Carol, to Head Shepherd.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Great to be here.
Great to get this one finally underway. We've had a couple of false starts, which tends to happen on these jobs. But really interesting to have a chat today. A couple of key things to chat about. I guess we'll start with your journey into shearing as a woman entering what is very much a male-dominated industry. I guess, talk us through what made you pick up the handpiece and how that was when you started out.
Sure, yes. What to say? Well, what got me into it? I certainly never would have believed anyone if they'd told me a few years ago that I would go shearing. So I grew up on a sheep farm, and as a baby I was sleeping in the wool bin while mum and dad running the shed and so on. But then we moved off farm when I was 8. And I really never thought I would choose to come back to the farm or let alone work in the sheds. But COVID happened, and COVID lockdowns came in 2020 at the same time as our dad was sick with cancer. And so my two brothers and I came back to the farm to be with dad through that time. And that led me I took a break from nursing then. Our dad did pass away in late 2020. And so I wanted to stay around family and to have a break from nursing. And so I went to work in the shearing sheds as a rouseabout and thought that was going to be a few weeks. It turned into a few months. And then what happened is that I shore one sheep at work with a shearer, and I went home, told my two brothers that I'd shorn a sheep turned out they'd only shorn one sheep each as well in the past. So I went back to work and I shore 3 sheep so that I'd shorn the most of the siblings combined. And that was enough to get me hooked. So, yeah, I mean, to go back to that gender question, there's certainly handy bit of motivation to step up to wanting to do something you're told that you can't do. And, a bit of healthy competition is always fun with siblings. And then, yeah, I mean, really, I was just genuinely wanting to have a go. I enjoyed the process of learning, the challenge of shearing, the physicality of it, the rhythm of the working day, and went from there. I walked into my first shearing school. I was 36 years old, and it was me, and there was 3 other women in their 20s and about 10, 14, 15-year-old young fellas. And that was maybe the first moment where I was like, hang on, I guess I'm not like a typical shearer. But, there I was as an unfit nurse, old enough to be the mum of these young fellas, and actually accidentally overheard some of them talking about, like, why is she here? And what they came up with was that I must be looking for a husband. I was a little bit horrified that our young fellas have these such ingrained archaic ideas about women's roles still, and so that was a wake up call, I guess. But yeah, going from there though, I've also never been more respected than I have anywhere in the shearing sheds, and sexism and so on is everywhere in the world at varying degrees. And in the shearing sheds, there is definitely there and can be quite in your face and spoken directly to you, which can be confronting. But in some ways, when you know exactly what you're dealing with, it can be easier to deal with as well. And I think in maybe a boardroom or a more politically correct environment, we still have the same barriers against women, but when it's a bit more invisible and politically correct, it can be harder to deal with. Whereas, in a shearing shed, let the handpiece do the talking and go to work. And what is most respected in the sheds, regardless of who you are or where you come from or the colour of your skin or how you talk, is the work. And that makes a level playing field for everyone that walks into a shearing shed. And though sometimes as a woman picking up the handpiece, you do have to earn that, work for that a little bit harder. But again, that's not always a bad thing either. Like I said about the motivation of wanting to beat my 2 brothers can be a motivating thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm thinking being a nurse is also a tough job. So you sort of walked from one field of fairly long days, long hours on your feet, and I guess probably not sheep to fight with, but humans to fight with all day long, and so
yeah,
you
that's
picked a couple
right.
of tough jobs.
You could joke. Yeah, well, interesting jobs, and at least we say the sheep don't talk back.
That's right. The shearing industry does have a reputation, rightly so, for being tough, very physically demanding. I think there's that quote around running a marathon or the equivalent. It's fast-paced. It's a culture that, as you already said, values resilience and getting the job done is the big part of that culture. I guess that has lots of positive aspects. As humans, we all love those days where we're kind of hands-on and all working as a team. I guess, how does that culture, and we're going to get onto sHedway in a minute and talk through the mental health work that you're doing, but yeah, I guess how does that culture sort of make it maybe tougher to put your hand up when things aren't going as well as you hoped?
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for pointing out that that culture of toughness can be positive as well, because so many people talk about the toughness being a barrier and a problem sometimes, but it is a real great strength to have the grit to keep going, to keep walking into a tough day at work to a tough shearing pen or to keep going through tough times in our lives. And that is a good thing. And we have that in spades in bucketfuls in the shearing sheds. And what we, and I really highlight that with all the talk we do for Shedway about mental fitness in the shearing sheds as well, is that we use that same strength that we use to go to work every day to do the toughest job in the world. We use that same strength to get through tough times or to learn new skills around looking after ourselves and each other as well. So, sorry, back to your question, though, directly was about how does a culture of toughness sometimes stop us from reaching out? Is that right? Yeah, and it can do. And I think that comes from shame. And shame is really debilitating. When we've got that culture of toughness and keep walking in no matter what. And when we are in a hard time where it's really hard to keep going, we feel ashamed about it. And when we feel ashamed about something, we don't want to admit to it. We hide it. We keep to ourselves. And when we do that, it gets worse in our minds, and we're cutting ourselves off from possible support and help and a way out. And part of a way out or a way through hard times is by having strong, healthy relationships and people around us. Life's too short to know everything we need for our own lives ourselves, so we can go so much further and be healthier together as a community. We don't need to know everything ourselves, but if we've got people around us with skills and support outside of us, we don't have to do things alone. Yeah, looking after ourselves physically as well is really important, especially with a job like shearing and wool handling.
Thank you. So we will move on to Shedway, and so that's something that you've started. Maybe if you could just walk us through what it is and I guess how it came to be, and what was the sort of, I guess, was there a moment or an experience that sort of made you realise that something needed to exist and motivated you to make that happen? Or just talk us through how Shedway, what it is and where it got going.
Yeah, thank you. So Shedway is a health promotion charity for suicide prevention and mental fitness in the shearing industry. We operate across Australia, and we've just come back from New Zealand as well in March. Yeah, we work to break the stigma, to make it normal to talk about mental health in the shearing sheds, as well as sharing the skills. And that looks like that's about how to tell when someone else or ourselves might be struggling, how to talk to them, and how to connect them to expert support. Shedway, I'll make the point that we're not offering counselling or clinical services at this point in time, but the ultimate goal is to train people from the sheds to be counsellors or mentors with us so that we can be supporting people as well. But your question about where did it all start with? So very grassroots, and it's been an incredible journey the last 2 years. So what happened is that I was shearing full time in Western New South Wales through COVID years up to the end of 2023, and I got to the point where I needed to go back nursing to keep my nursing registration, and I was able to get a job in mental health nursing in a rural suicide prevention program. So I went from shearing in South Australia, and I went to the Sport Shear Nationals in Jamestown 2023 as the New South Wales Novice Champion Shearer. And 1 week later, I was back in Dobbo and started work as a mental health nurse.
The only person that's ever done that combo, but
perhaps, maybe, but also I found through the work of Shedway and talk about what we're doing, people are coming out of the woodworks, and actually there's a lot of us out there there's a lot of us in the whole world and variety of jobs out there that have background in the shearing sheds, and we take that resilience and hard work ethic everywhere we go. And also there's people in the shearing sheds that do really care for mental health and healthcare, and there's a lot of us that go from the sheds into healthcare
cool.
and vice versa. So there's more of us out there, which is really cool and gives me hope as well. When I interviewed for that job, I said that I had a dream or an idea of one day doing something for mental health in the shearing sheds, and had a bit of a 5-year plan in mind, actually, like spend a good chunk of time learning more about mental health. And what happened is that within 2 or 3 weeks of me starting that job, we lost 3 shearers to suicide in Australia. And it's across Australia. And one was a young fella that I had worked with here in New South Wales, and his family were my work family from the last few years. And so that just brought it home in a really short period of time. The same month that I started a suicide prevention job, we were losing too many people in the shearing sheds. And obviously one loss is one too many, but when we're losing multiple people all at once, it's devastating. So yeah, realize that should have a go at doing something. They say the best time to plant the tree is 50 years ago or 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. So probably never going to know all the answers on the best way how to go about doing something, but we could start and have a go. And hopefully the ripple effects of what we do will make some changes. So it started by talking to people in the industry and, saying, I've got this idea, what do you think? And the response was overwhelmingly supportive, and with a like, yes, please do something. And so that's the driving and the motivation behind this is the support and need from everyone.
Excellent. Yeah, well done. And yeah, obviously, as you say, one's too many, but as they stack up, it's really, really tough across rural Australia. All those outcomes. You've talked about smoko conversations that save lives. I guess, what does Shedway actually look like in practice these days? I guess, how do you help? What do you do day to day to help shearers sort of recognise the signs in themselves or in others?
Absolutely, yeah. So what we do with Shed is a variety of things. So we have stalls with our Shed champions at industry events. So that looks like shearing and wool handling competitions at your ag shows, industry meetings and training days, and then we also have a variety of workshops that we take out to shearing sheds and shearing schools. So I have a toolbox talk, which varies depending on how much time the group has. So for visiting a shearing team, join in for a run, and with the work not being a pothole, but try to for people who don't know me, see if we're genuinely from the sheds, and the short chat about what Shedway is and so on. Anything up to an hour long, where we talk about general mental wellbeing for the shearing shed life. And we also have certified workshops that we're rolling out as well. So we've done now 6 Shedway forums, which includes a Safe Talk workshop, which comes with a certificate. And I want all our volunteers to come through that workshop as a starting point as well. And that is about suicide awareness. So in that workshop, we go right into how to tell when someone might be at risk of suicide, how to talk to them, and how to connect them to expert help. We're also training some of our team to be mental health first aid facilitators, and we'll start running those from next year onwards. And that's a 2-day, 12 hours over 2 days workshop about mental illnesses, how to support someone going through something like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, psychosis, and so on. And as a first aid course, that's skills that we're likely to use more often and more regularly than we will with CPR. And we know CPR is essential to know and is life-saving, but that's something that realistically a person might only use once or twice in their lifetime, if at all, whereas mental health first aid skills are things that we'll use mostly every day in all our relationships and interactions with people, and can be just as life-saving. So that's how we're we're rolling out training and sharing these skills amongst the shearing sheds. And the goal is to have at least 2 people from every shearing shed team having come through and with these workshops, whether with us or with someone else. These workshops are available across the country as well. So if we're not running them, we can help people from the sheds find them in their own area too. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's a great point, mental health first aid. I mean, I don't think I've done 3 or 4 first aid courses, and I still wouldn't want to be the person that expects me to save their life doing CPR, but I'm sure I'd remember those skills of helping someone have a discussion would be easier things to, if you knew the tools, you wouldn't forget those tools as easily as you do how many pumps in the chest or how many breaths you're meant to do.
Yeah.
I guess one of the biggest challenges is just access to services in a lot of the places that shearers are working. Is there any sort of steps towards closing that gap, or how do we? And I guess maybe that peer support does mean that we're not having to go to those professional services as readily. Or yeah, I don't know. I'm out of my depth, but you talk me through what sHedway does on closing that sort of gap for people accessing professional services when they need to.
Yeah, and you're right that it can be really hard to access the services, especially from the bush and from the shearing sheds, and with our lifestyle of traveling a lot for work. And, our address might be at home in a town in southern Queensland, but really we're working in WA or Tasmania for a few months at a time, And yeah, what to say? That firstly, I have found that mostly because of we're so isolated with work, people don't know what services are available as a starting point, and there are services there. So the first thing we do is make sure we're letting everyone know what services are available, and then encouraging people to actually reach out to them. And then knowing that can be hard at times, especially with our transient lifestyle and so on, and there can be costs to some things. So we make sure that we share the services that are most easily accessible from the sheds. And so if we're talking about crisis and emergency and suicide emergency, that is obviously in the first instance to call 000 or 112 from a mobile if we don't have reception. And then in the second instance, if it's less than an emergency but a suicide crisis, we tell people about Lifeline, which is free 24/7 phone counselling service for suicide crisis. And that's 13 11 14. And at our workshops, we make a practice phone call to a service like Lifeline, one of the phone lines. So phone line services, there's a lot out there, and I know that nothing really can compare to that face-to-face support in real time. But when we're remote and isolated, the phone services offer great support. And so, there's phone lines for domestic violence support, there's Men's Line, there's Beyond Blue for advice and support and mental illness challenges. Lifeline for suicide safety. And then there's also phone counselling available for general mental wellbeing. So less than crisis, but still in a bit of a spot and wanting some extra tools to move through things. So TAX is a really great service, which is an Australian service, free mental health counselling with the same counsellors by phone. Anyone can call or text to book in. You don't need a referral. And they're specifically for tradies, rural workers, blue-collar workers like us from the shearing sheds and from farming backgrounds. They're funded partly by Trademutt, the high-vis work shirts that have put colourful patterns on their tradie work shirts. Yeah. And so their story as a company and a service is pretty similar to ours at sHedway, which is that 2 mates lost a tradie friend to suicide and, wanted to do something about it. So they've started their work shirt brand and then literally, I believe, hired a psychologist with a mobile phone and started offering support.
Excellent. This is probably a tough question without notice, but are there a few pointers that we should share today that you would cover in the workshop, like the sort of main points that you try to get across to anyone listening who might know someone or is somebody that might be going through a bit of a tough time? What are the things that you try and portray in those workshops?
Certainly, yeah, and yeah, like you say, there's a lot goes into that as well. So certainly, encourage people to come to our workshops and engage with this stuff and learn more. In a nutshell, when we're worried about someone, a change in behaviour, a change in their situation, if we're aware of something might be going on for them, and if their mood changes or something, and change in behaviour can go either positive or negative as well. So someone who's normally happy and chatty and always at work is maybe suddenly not turning up or really grumpy or isolating themselves and not talking to anyone. That's a change that we'd be like, what's going on there? And so we'd want to go and check in with that person. Like, hey, so we say what we've noticed, why we're worried. I've noticed you're not turning up for work this week. Like, is everything okay? What's going on? And being helpfully nosy. We often hang back and we don't want to put ourselves in someone's space. We don't want to seem like a busybody and so on. But being helpfully nosy when we're worried about someone, we have to put ourselves in that position so that and we might get a variety of responses as well. We might be told anything from "leave me alone" rather aggressively, more colourful language, to someone might not want to talk, or I'm fine, or someone might open up and everything. So whatever the situation is, we say, never put yourself in a situation that's unsafe for you. And maybe if you're not the right person to check in, maybe you could ask someone else too that they'd respond to better, for example. We can just say, I meant no offense. I'm asking because I care. If you want to chat to me in the future, I'm here and happy to. And then, we really want to encourage people to reach out for that expert help. And so what I say in with sHedway is that we compare it to looking after our shearing gear. So shearing gear, when we're shearing, has it's the difference between a great day and a terrible day. If we don't have a right cut, we have a tougher day. And so we generally really respect our gear and looking after it. So we know if we walk into a shearing shed Monday morning with a dirty gear pot full of rusty combs and cutters, we haven't done our grinding, or we don't even have food ready for the day or whatever, we're going to have an average day. We're not going to really be able to do the work. But we also know how to fix that problem. We know as learners coming through, we have to learn the routines that suit our day and way of doing things. We have to learn the skill of grinding, and that just takes practice and that grit of just keeping on going at times. And when we haven't got those skills ourselves, we go to the experts who teach us and show us how to improve what we're doing. And so we want to look after our mental health the same way. And part of that is learning the routines and healthy habits and so on, that and the skills of, say, emotion regulation and communication in relationships and respect and so on. And then reaching out to the expert help when our own tools and skills aren't getting us out of whatever hole we might be in. And so that can look like going to TACS for free phone counselling services or something like that. Yeah, finding psychologists, counselling.
Thank you.
I think if you're right. I just think if the whole world was in therapy, we'd be in a better place as a global society.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for those tips, and obviously heading people towards those numbers will be something we'll put in the show notes and put all those links in there, and particularly to sHedway. Congratulations, you were recognised as the AgriFutures Royal Women's Award winner, which is a big accolade, and some pretty impressive women that you're always up against in those sorts of awards. I guess what did that recognition mean for you? But I guess more importantly to you, I'm guessing, is what it meant for the sort of visibility of mental health or Shed-Way, and has that sort of helped bring a spotlight to your work?
Yeah, incredibly so, and absolutely a incredible honour. As you said, there's so many incredible women doing important, big, influential work in our rural communities, and so to be part of the award process and the alumni that's the 25-year history of the AgriFutures Rural Women's Award has a really engaged alumni, all the women that have been involved over the years. And that's where, it's that strength of community and networking and supporting each other is really positive in that. So an amazing experience. And for Shed-Way, certainly in so many ways, not just the awareness of what we're doing and every interview or media experience is an opportunity to share the messages which are applicable to everyone in the world about looking after ourselves and our mental fitness, as well as our bodies being so important and how to do that. But also found that we've been able to shine a positive light on the shearing and the wool industry by doing this, which is interesting to me because I'm aware that in some ways issues that are hard to talk about, like suicide, are often swept under the rug because we don't want to shine a light on the challenges and issues that we might have as a community. Yet by going straight to this pointy topic, the hardest thing to talk about of all, being suicide, that we're shining a positive light on the industry by showing what we're doing about it and by strengthening the community and how we're so proactive and really coming around this and making an impact. And in the same way, it's also been an incredible opportunity to promote wool, which of course is, the heart of everything that we do in the shearing sheds. And wool as a fibre is I think so underutilized, and it's really an answer to so many of our problems in the world at the moment. In that it's sustainable, renewable by the nature of it. It grows every year on the sheep's back, and as a fibre, it's great to wear. The modern merino clothing is incredible and long lasting. Challenges the fast fashion issues that we have with waste in the world and so on. So I wore merino wool dresses into Parliament House for both the State Award and the National Award, and that was a great honour.
Excellent. I'm glad I chose to wear wool today. So, I do most days.
Very good.
I live in New Zealand. You have to, otherwise you die. But amazing award, and as you say, there's been some phenomenal women who've won that. But it's often the alumni of those sorts of awards that is the real strength in the community that all of the people around that award bring together. So fantastic to hear that that's how that's rolling out for you as well. I guess if we look back now on what you've achieved and what you are achieving, I guess, do you feel like there has been a sort of momentum swing and the culture is changing in the sheds? And I guess, is what needs to be done how can the community help to make that go faster? But are we winning the battle, I guess, is a question.
Look, I've been amazed right from day one when I first started calling people, some who I didn't know, saying, I've got this idea, what do you think? I didn't expect anyone to listen to me. I expected that stigma to be really strong, and no one wants to talk about that stuff, like we don't need it, don't worry about it, blah blah. And I then had a bit of a 5-year thing in mind that might take 5 years of really clawing my way through all this stigma to get something done. But within a number of months, we were having stalls at shows, and started with ringing up and asking if I could come. And sometimes talking my way into that, and sometimes doors being open and yes, please come, and others having to maybe convince them a little bit harder. But as we've gone around and people, the small amount of resistance that there was, those people have seen how everyone else responds to us and have seen that everyone, say that I feel like my job has become to hold up a mirror to the industry. So everyone sees themselves, how much we all care about each other. No one wants to lose anyone else, of course, but also the stigma has changed across, society more broadly, and people are coming forward and engaging with talking and supporting each other and challenging that tough stoic she'll be right thing and finding out ways to actually, be right together. So do I have so much hope, absolutely. Yeah, gone from having to humbug and invite ourselves to things to now having multiple events that we could be at every week. So growing our team so that we can be in more places than one at a time. And I'm holding here a little woolen heart with an embroidered sheep on it. So what gives me hope is the heart of the Shed family. And, in the sheds, and you talked about changing the culture, and we don't need to change anything because we have such a strong culture of looking out for each other as it is when it comes to someone's car breaking down or needing some gear or anything. Like, we're all there as a team, no one left behind. And so all we do is add to that culture and strengthen it by adding in the skills to check in around mental health as well and to share heart. So like I said before, the heart and strength that we use to go to work every day is the same heart that we can use to have hard conversations and learn these skills to look out for each other. And so with the AgriFutures Award, the Tasmanian winner from last year is a woman, Sarah, who runs 1,000 Hearts, and that is people sewing woolen felt hearts as a gift of kindness and sharing them out. So in the sheds, we talk about heart as though you're either born with it or not. that kind of strength and grit that we talked about to keep walking in no matter what. I say that we can also share heart, and we can literally share a gift of kindness or a conversation or a check-in with someone. We all know the difference that a kind word can make in a tough day. Like, you've got this, keep going, we're all in this together. And at the very least, all that stuff of supporting each other can buoy us all along so that we've got more reserves in our tank before we have to call on our internal heart and grit. And so that's what gives me hope, the Shed family. Yeah. And if anyone would like to make and share hearts for us, we would love that. So we've actually now partnered with 1,000 Hearts, and you can buy craft packs for any of our crafters out there to sew hearts for us, and either pass them amongst your own family and friends and networks, or anyone who would be willing to post them back to us. We hand these out at our toolbox talks and workshops, and I've found that handing these soft, fluffy little heart gifts to our tough, stoic shearers is more appreciated than I expected. And, sometimes it's the toughest and strongest ones amongst us that are really soft and maybe struggling on the inside. So never underappreciate the impact that reaching out to someone can have.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, endorse that for sure. So if anyone out there who's got more sewing skills than I have, they definitely, and yeah, great if people can take up that challenge. And thanks very much for that correction on changing the culture to, as you say, it's already got a great workplace culture in terms of looking out for each other. It's just bringing some new skills to that culture. So yeah, great correction there. The last question we ask everybody, which often is hard to put down to a single person, so you're allowed to have a few. But who's the best human you've had the pleasure to learn from?
The best, yeah, that is really hard to answer. There is, learn something from everyone. Actually, I don't know if this is okay to say, but I actually want to say sheep.
That's
they're not human, and they definitely drive us mad at times for
probably
sure.
true for me as well, actually, when you think about it. But yeah.
But yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, shearing taught me so much about myself, and not everything I liked, but it really made me face strengths and challenges that I didn't know were there, and takes you right to your limits and, well, the limits you think you have, and goes beyond those to a place where I found it was tougher and stronger than I thought I was. And that's really, yeah. I feel I'm not articulate enough for that. But
No, that's an excellent answer. But yeah, 100% right. Not that I've shorn that many animals in my time, which is a good thing for the animals. But yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, I mean, sheep can bring you to your find your emotions you didn't know you had. That's for sure. And
that's right, and teaches us to manage them and regulate ourselves and work with the animal and the people around us. And and it's, like I said, it's that strength that I take into sHedway. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that chat, Carol. It's been fantastic, and we will obviously make sure we put all of those numbers and notes and links in the show notes. So anyone that's out there that wants to get involved and help you on your cause, then definitely we'll make sure they can find you. What is the best way to get in touch with sHedway? Is it via socials or directly? Or
Absolutely. So our website, sHedway.org.au, you can see all about us there, and our Facebook page, you can link through the page as well. We keep up to date with what we're up to weekly on our Facebook page, and you can email us through the website for sure. And we'd love to hear from anyone out there who'd like to help out, join our workshops, help us bring some workshops to your area.
Excellent. You mentioned NZ. You're obviously gone trans-Tasman. Is that so things are taking off over this side of the ditch? Or
we had a great opportunity to come over for Golden Shears and the Shearing World Championships in March, and that was thanks to the Westpac bursary from the AgriFutures Award. And through that, met amazing people over there. And part of going there was to talk to the global industry that was there for that event about what we're doing, find out what might be happening in other countries, and share what we're doing. And if anyone out there does want to, do similar to what we're doing in their countries, really happy to talk and see how we can possibly help, share what we've done. There's a lot goes into the background of setting up as a charity and how to do this stuff. So really here to help anyone who might want to do the same, and would love to come back to New Zealand as well. We ran 2 workshops at the pre-shears shearing school. And, it's just the start. Yeah. The shearing industry is so global. A lot of us, travel the world for work, and we might be small in number, but our reach is huge. And that gives me such hope for the changes we can make as well. The ripple effect of one person in one team having these skills goes around the world.
Yeah. Well put. It's certainly a very transient game, and people all over the place and spread. Which is what some people love about that particular profession.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent, Carol. Many thanks for your time, and thanks for all that you're doing for our beloved industry, and promoting wool, promoting shearing, promoting mental health. There's so many good things that you're up to there, and obviously. I don't know many people that have both had a nursing career and a shearing career, so it's fantastic to all that you're doing. But we'll leave it there, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me, and for your time. Thanks for the chat, Mark.
Thanks very much for listening to this week's show. I hope you very much enjoyed that chat with Carol as much as I did. If you or someone you know are struggling with a situation you're dealing with currently, we very much encourage you to get in touch with one of the services we mentioned throughout the show, DX, Lifeline, Beyond Blue, or a range of others, that Lifeline number being 13 11 14 in Australia, different services in different countries, but very much get in touch with those services if you or someone you know is having a bit of a tough time at the moment. We very much encourage that. Thanks for listening, and thanks again to our 3 fantastic sponsors. Heinegger, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Allflex Livestock Intelligence, part of MSD Animal Health, offer extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. ProWay Livestock Equipment offer turnkey solutions from design through to professional installation and specialise in facilities that are tailored to your specific operation for all livestock species. We thank these three great companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.